Talking the issues and taking the hit. Here they are, the two crazy guys.
Alrighty, and welcome back to the third segment of today's show. Before we left for the break, we were talking about people not caring. And, I'd mentioned that one day somebody's going to wake up, you're going to wake up, or somebody's going to come knock on the door, and it's going to be your escort into, the boxcar or the concentration camp, whatever it's going to be.
FEMA camp,
and
relocation camp.
Look, man, I know you think I'm crazy for thinking this way. I know you think that. Not you, Mark, but the listeners. And I know that's why we called the program The Two Crazy Guys. But here's the deal, man. This stuff, whether you want to believe it or not, it is so much of a possibility if we let it get there. My North Korea theory, Mark.
Yeah. Well, and it may sound crazy, just like space travel sounded crazy 50, 60 years ago also.
Exactly.
Flash Gordon was considered fantasy, but now we have a lot of that technology. So what is crazy today becomes, oh shit, I should have paid attention tomorrow.
Right.
The Germans during the Nazi occupation with Hitler and all that, a lot of them will tell you that, if we would have stepped up and fought it ahead of time or during that time, we could have stopped that from happening. But everybody was complacent, and they said, well, turn in your guns because we don't like you, you're Jews. But they didn't say that. They just said, turn in your guns for safety or whatever. They complied, and then they were hopeless, helpless.
Exactly.
Have you ever watched the movie with Andy Garcia called Lost City?
That one does not ring a bell.
It is awesome, and it's got I think it's not Dan Aykroyd, but the other guy that's kind of funny from Saturday Night Live back in the day.
Chevy Chase?
No,
he's slapstick.
Yeah, he's nuts. But it's about Andy Garcia is a guy that owns a nightclub in Cuba during the 40s and 50s when it's, the heyday and everything. And then all of a sudden here comes this talk of revolution and Castro and all this stuff. And everyone's like, yeah, whatever. And then overnight, the revolution's basically over. We didn't help them at all as Americans. And then he goes into his nightclub, and the band's practicing and doing all their stuff, and in walks these brown shirts basically, and she's like, you can't play that music because you use a saxophone. And he's like, what are you talking about? And she goes, that's some kind of weird thing they have for it. It's sexual in nature or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, well, all my songs have that. He goes, this brings about great music. He rattles off a bunch of songs with the saxophone. And she's like, you can either stop doing that or we'll arrest you and shut your casino down. And so it goes through his life. His uncle is a big tobacco farmer, and I think that was filmed on Fuentes tobacco farm in Dominican Republic or something. But, he loses it. Everything becomes nationalized and everything. And he ends up finally getting out and going to America after half his family's killed. His uncle commits suicide because he loses his farm. And it's all what really happened, even though it's a movie. This is a slice of life for a Cuban family back then that were successful. And Castro just came in and, once he got elected or, won and took office, it changed overnight.
Yep.
And the people go from a real high standard of living, even the people that worked in this nightclub were paid well because it's a job. They had a job. Well, Castro used it like, well, he's getting rich and you're just a stupid dishwasher. Never mind that you're making more money than you'll ever make under socialism.
Yeah.
And their standard of living drops. I mean, still in Cuba today, you'll see 1954 Chevys in mint condition because they don't have other cars. they don't have microwaves. They used
Right,
to not
right.
have them. And, maybe 20 years after the microwave was invented, they finally got a microwave or two. So you have to watch it just to realize just how painful it was for those people and how sad. And I'm sure you could make a movie just like that about Venezuela.
Oh man, funny you bring up Venezuela. I saw a meme today, I believe it was, and it was if socialism is so great, then why aren't all the caravans running to Venezuela?
That's a good question. I don't know what the answer is because maybe they're confused. Because
No, I mean
wouldn't
seriously.
that be the direction you'd want to go? Why would you flee Venezuela as the Venezuelan people when you
Well,
got utopia?
but the caravans, why are they coming here? If socialism is so great, why aren't they going to Venezuela?
Yeah, because they kind of are closer to Venezuela before they walk all the way up to Mexico. Is that right? I'm pretty bad at geography,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Well,
so head that direction. But no, they risk everything to come here.
see, that's the thing, Mark. Is these people are fleeing the very thing that the Democrats want to create out of America.
Right. And
I don't.
and why will they get here and vote Democratic when they're talking socialism too? Is it? I mean, a lot of people can be considered a tool, but not 50,000 of them. I mean, if they're running from socialism and collapse and failed, government, you'd think they'd come over here and go, yeah, those Republicans got it figured out. I'm gonna vote Republican.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's even better in Mexico than where they're coming from, and it's better in Mexico, as bad as it is, than socialism.
Yeah.
So why don't the Democrats look at that and go, these refugees or whatever we want to call them would rather take their chances getting stuck in Mexico than go to Venezuela.
They'd rather die.
Yeah. Well, that's a damn good question, and it might be a meme and it's funny and all that, but the reality is, yeah, why
No,
don't they
it's reality.
why don't they make a left turn instead of a right turn or whatever direction that is, and go to Venezuela?
It's a real question and it's a valid question.
Yeah.
And the Democrats, though, see, when you tell them that socialism has never worked in any place that's ever been tried, their response is, well, that's because they don't know how to work it. See, we know what we're doing.
Right.
We know how to make it work. And so it will be successful here.
Right. And you'd almost have to ask yourself, but why would we want to do that here when we got what we got here?
Right.
Why do we want to change, cars on a road trip that's going really well? I don't get it at all. But, it's, I think there's a war really going on. I mean, just because we're the United States, if this was, Europe is smaller than America almost, and yet you had France killing the Scots, killing the, England. They're all fighting and literally in bloodbath battles, 300-400 years ago. What makes us think that we're not going to have enemies in America? Maybe it might not be New Mexico attacking Arizona, but you have ideologies that would love to literally kill everybody that stands in their way, just like Wallace was in the way of England.
Yeah.
And that is the war going on, but we can't fight it that way because we don't just march out in the field and start swinging broadaxes, because if we did, we'd go to prison. But it's still, the outcome will be the same. The agenda is the same. They want to destroy what we have for whatever reason. I can't figure it out, but that's what they want to do. They would rather kill everybody that stands in their way, but they can't for now. So they do it this other way, but don't make no mistake. There's a war going on in America, and we are really on the losing side right now. We are not, as I guess, freedom-loving, republic-loving people maybe don't even see that it's going on because we're so caught up in everything. It's going to be a bloodbath. It might be a mental bloodbath, but we will lose if we don't stand and literally fight it one way or another. And
yeah, man.
Because
Yeah.
you watch those old battles, in the movies and stuff, and they just go running out there swinging axes and stuff.
Well, I mean, think of this too. The Civil War. Those guys, when they were shooting those rifles, they were at point blank range, man. It's not like they were, 100 yards down range or something. I mean, this was going on, and it was ready, aim, fire, and it was a line of people, just a line of people shooting at another line of people 15 feet away from them.
Yeah, because you had to literally see the whites of their eyes, which meant they were close enough to where you had some damn accuracy.
Yeah. What kind of individual, unless they were so oppressed, would literally risk knowing what you're about to face and go and stand up and look at somebody literally feet away and pull the trigger?
Right. Before he pulled it on you.
That's desperation, man.
And see, even the Civil War was a war of ideology. We can say it was about all this pie in the sky crap, but the reality was the North and the South had different ideologies, right or wrong, whatever conclusions you want to draw from it. It was those people over there were willing to kill these people over here because they disagreed on a point of ideology. And isn't that where we are now, other than pulling the triggers? We're
it's
just pulling different triggers.
It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And you've got both sides. Both of them think they're right. Both of them think that their ideas are, what's best, even though we know by history that the ideology of the left, being socialists, it will not stand. I mean, I've gone through the Green New Deal. I've dissected that thing, and there's no way. You and I both know that there's no way that thing can possibly sustain. It will collapse on itself, just like socialism always does. Right. Yet they seem to think that because they know what they're doing, that they're going to make it work, regardless of when you look at it, when you step back and get out of the happy little bubble and put it all together and look at what it is, knowing it's going to fail, yet you want to implement it anyway. Right. Listen, we got to go to another break, man. We got to go to another break. So hold that thought, and we'll be back right after this. So don't go away.
Thanks for tuning in. Catch them next time as they dig into the issues. The two crazy guys. Log on to the website at www.contraradionetwork.com.